So I could get the best idea of what my fellow lightworkers wanted my blog topic to be for the end of 2021, I asked the question on my social media, what should my end of year blog topic be about? I was so humbled and amazed by the wonderful response that I got to that question that I have so many topics that I'm not sure I can cover every single one of them. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to bundle up all of the suggestions under a greater, broader topic, and I'm going to answer or give my insights on that, and hopefully that'll be helpful for everyone listening. So the first topic is about letting go and moving forward. So the first thing that we must all do, and it's going to seem really simple, is that we have to let go of our ego expectations. Now, we all have expectations and we all have an ego. However, as per my teachings in many of my courses, I explain that we can control our intentions and we can control our efforts, but we cannot control the outcomes. We're often taught as we're growing up to believe that if we want X, that we just do Y and then we get X. We're rarely taught how to handle an outcome that isn't what we expect, or X. And because we're never shown that, we don't get a chance to practice how to accept a different outcome with grace, with understanding, and without it ruining our day. So I'm going to actually link a blog post I did quite some time ago about letting go. And when you listen or read or watch that blog post, remember that you can change up the elements within it to match what best suits you and your style of letting go. But the ultimate goal is to acknowledge the fact that an outcome is not what we want, and to then acknowledge the fact that we can't control the outcomes, but we can control how we react to it, and that we can control our efforts to create a better outcome. One of the most amazing things that we get to experience as spiritual creatures having a human experience on this world is that in the very next moment, we have the opportunity to try again. The next topic is more around personal development. Now, there's a lot of different things I can say in this particular topic, but probably the most important and pertinent thing for me to express is that it's the little things that make the biggest difference in your life. Now, for those of you who don't know, I shared a little story about how I used to make these little tiny donations to a farm sanctuary called Edgar's Mission back when I had no money and I had no time, and I found a way to make these little donations because I knew and I felt just a little bit of help would go a long way. I'll link to that video in this blog post as well for those who haven't seen that little story. But the reason I'm sharing this is because as I'm going to paraphrase Mother Teresa, we cannot all do great things, but we can all do small things with greatness and great love. So just remember, in your own personal development, it's not about going from 0 to hero. It's about going from 0 to 0.1, to maybe 0.5, to 1. It's about incrementally improving yourself for your greatest and highest good. Now, the next topic is about compassion and making a difference. I had lots of suggestions under this, and they were so relevant in today's world. And the best thing that I can probably suggest at this point is recognizing our judgment. True understanding means that you're endeavoring to get and to completely empathize and understand why someone is doing something. Now, it doesn't mean that you're agreeing with it. Understanding doesn't mean that you accept it and are voting for it or are backing it in any way whatsoever. Understanding is the first step we take in compassion. When we listen to someone and we judge, many of us have difficulty expressing this beautiful sentiment that we have of compassion because we're busy judging others based on our beliefs, based on what we think's right or wrong, based on what we think people should be doing or not doing. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily the wrong thing for you to do, but if you want to express compassion, the first thing we have to do is understand the motivations behind why someone's doing something. That's step one. Step two is then once you understand why, then you can at least feel the emotions of, now I understand why someone's doing this thing, because if I was in that situation, maybe I wouldn't be exactly the same, but I can feel the motivation on why they're doing it. For those of you who know, I enjoy reading Jane Austen novels, and something that I thought was quite zen that she wrote about in her book Pride and Prejudice was from the character named Jane, who is the elder sister of the main character in the book. And in that book, the main character, Lizzie, was really upset and didn't understand why her friend was going off to be with this particular person she thought wasn't any good. And something that Jane said was really amazing. She said, "You're not giving her allowance for difference of situation and difference of character." And that really resonated with me because many of us judge, many of us lose our compassionate side because we forget the differences of situation and character. Now, another big topic that was suggested to me was basically how to handle stress. And I know this is a huge one, something that none of us can evade completely and forever. And to be honest, no matter what level of stress you're going through, my suggestion is meditation. Simple breathing meditation. We're talking micro moments in your day if you need to, because stress appears at various levels, at various times, and most times when it's least convenient. So being able to understand meditation and being able to do something as simple as a 6-count in-breath and then a 6-count out-breath. And when you're doing that breathing and you're counting, you're actually focusing in your thoughts into that process of breathing and counting. When that happens, a lot of the other chatter falls away in our minds and it gives us that little break from the pressure. And when we get that little bit of a break, we actually stop a bit of that stress cycle. So for those of you who don't meditate, I highly suggest that you just do simple breathing exercises as a way to get started. They take no time out of your day because you breathe already anyway. So doing it with purpose and with thought can actually ease a lot of the stress in your daily life. Now, with all that said, I had some people ask some sort of random questions that were more about my thoughts on different things and less about broader topics. So I will try to answer some of them now. One of the questions I had was about what have I learned from this year and how will I benefit from that knowledge moving forward? Now, I would have to say we've all been through a very difficult year, actually a couple of years, and I've found that being flexible and being willing to change and being willing to adapt to those changes has led to more inner peace and ease in my life than if I hadn't been flexible and hadn't been able to be adaptive. Now, when I say that, it's not always easy to be flexible and it's not always fun to have to adapt. So I think this last year has really made me realize how flexible I can be in my life. And I'm definitely going to be taking that forward with me into the future. Another student had actually asked me about my opinion on different types of Reiki practiced around the globe. And to be honest with you, sweet friend, I don't really have an opinion on it because as long as it comes from a place of love, as long as they teach and express love, as long as it's inclusive and not exclusive, I think the more the better. Now, I had some other questions about how Reiki might be able to apply to our modern world, and I definitely think it does because Reiki energy healing is a combination of us learning and practicing self-awareness, meditation, self-healing, feeling our emotions, feeling how we feel in the moment, practicing non-judgment, and practicing compassion. So all of those components, whether you want to call it Reiki or something else, or if you do all of those things in some other form of healing, then it's extremely applicable to today's time more than ever. I had another person ask what unusual experiences I've had during attunements. Because I'm quite open to accepting and recognizing experiences for what they are, I have very little judgment on what happens during an attunement ceremony or during a healing attunement. But probably the most interesting one that really made me smile was I was doing a Reiki student attunement ceremony for new students. Actually, a bit of weather had come through and it was thunder and lightning. And when I was doing the motions of attuning and drawing and activating the Reiki symbols, the thunder was perfectly timed with my hand motions. It was quite amazing. That's probably the most beautiful thing that sticks out just off the top of my head. But in saying that, so many wonderful things happen that it's really hard for me to pick one of the most different experiences. And one of the last things that someone asked me was, why are people addicted to failure? And that's a really good question, because it does seem to happen quite a lot, that people seem to do and repeat the same things. And from an outside perspective, answering just that very simple question, without of course knowing any context and situations or anything like that, a lot of times people tend to repeat the same mishaps and mistakes is because they at least know the outcome. When you do things and self-sabotage oneself, despite the fact that we would like to see the opposite occur, when we half-heartedly do things or we do things with expectations of not succeeding, we at least get what we want. Whereas if we do something with the hopes on the opposite to succeed or to triumph, there's always a chance that you may fail. So I would think, like I said, generally speaking, without great context and detail, that addiction to failure is actually an addiction to knowing the outcome. Now, with all of the different things that I suggested and gave insights on in this particular blog, I will put links to anything that I think would be helpful and relevant on the topics of whether it's meditation, whether it's letting go, whether it's compassion, and so forth. So please make sure you have a look at the blog post, have a look at the different resources that I provide, and remember that it's the little things in life that add up to the bigger picture. Don't be too hard on yourself. As long as you're taking a step forward, any improvement is improvement, no matter how big or small. So don't judge and compare yourself to another who maybe has made a great leap in their life. As long as you are moving forward, that's all that matters. The only person you should compare yourself against is yourself. And the amazing thing is, you can change that person in the very next moment. I hope that was interesting and helpful for you, my sweet friends. I'm wishing you the very best this holiday season. Namaste and big love to you, sweet friends. Stay safe.